Oh.
Yes?
And, yeah. I hate to defeat that.
The following is the agenda for the regular council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, Mayor and Council, a municipal corporation in the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 PM on February 8th, 2023, in the Municipal Building, 25 Lenox Avenue, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, consistent with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting will be open for public comment and shall be in accordance with terms and conditions of the borough's municipal code and bylaws.
Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bless this mayor and council as they deliberate on for the best of Pompton Lakes. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, mailed while requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Polidori. Here. Councilman Bay.
Here.
Councilman Cruz.
Here.
Councilman DeLine.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent. Here. Councilman Denon.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, Mark Zamero, and our Borough Administrator, Paula Cosgrove.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments? Motion. Second. Councilman Benning, Councilman Cruz, all in favor? Aye. Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
Paul Volpe, 120 Romaine Ave. Just a suggestion, I know that the MUA is coming around down to inspect water pipes. My wife was home by herself the other day when the gentleman showed up. She wouldn't let him in because he was dressed completely in dark, had a dark hat on, had no identifying jacket or anything. He just banged on the door and she kind of looked out and she's not opening the door because she doesn't have a clue who he is. So it'd be nice if the guys who are coming around knocking on doors would have a hat, a jacket, something that identifies them. I know they have that little handout, but just because somebody's standing on your front porch with a handout that doesn't look like, maybe a representative of some organization, she would let them in. So it would be my suggestion that they give them a jacket, give them a hat, give them a pin, give them something that identifies them, just at glance, to identify them as an MUA employee, as opposed to just standing there in dark clothes. And she wasn't sure it was a hat or a hoodie, but she refused to open the door because she had no idea who he was.
No, it makes sense.
Okay?
I'm gonna ask, is that you, Eric?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
could you reach out to them and let them know?
I'll bring that to their next
Okay,
meeting.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Randy Hicks, 443 Montclair Avenue. I just had a question on Resolution 2365. Do we have retirement? Why we're hiring more officers? Or
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We can bring that up.
what is the manpower number of our police department?
We are down a couple officers from where we should be. A couple of transfers, a couple of people left. So we are replacing what our number was initially. I'm not sure of the exact number. Paula, do you know the exact number? Is it 20?
So that resolution is the authorization of hiring officers based on an alternate route and a bill that was passed on January 18th, effective July 18th of last year. So we are down 2 officers, and we are hiring 1 back under this alternate route hiring.
Okay. Recently, I had brought up about the Lambert Street Bridge, and I want to thank you, Mayor and the Administrator, for sending somebody out there to look at the condition of the bridge. But part of that whole situation was the fact that the bridge is on the private property owner's property. Is there any way that we're going to?
Well, we have an easement with her that she signed.
Oh, there is an easement?
Yes.
For her to?
Yes.
Okay. If that's what you say, I'll check it out.
No, Paula, I don't know. We were just talking about
So
that.
as a matter of fact, we were just talking
Right.
about it, and my understanding is that when the property was purchased by her, the easement was already established for that bridge.
So she was
So she
on,
purchased the property with an existing easement, is my understanding.
And she was unfamiliar with that, or she didn't
I can't
realize it?
speak for her, but what I'd like to do is, I was looking at some of her assessment maps, but I would like to speak to the assessor with regard to the exact location of that easement.
Okay.
But my understanding is the property was purchased with that existing easement. That bridge, I think, has been there for a while.
Quite a while, yeah.
Quite a while, yes, yes, it has been. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Begg?
Second.
Councilman Lennon, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve the following minutes, regular meeting minutes, January 25th, 2023, closed session meeting minutes, January 25th, 2023. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Begg, is that you? Second.
Yeah, I'll be second.
Councilman Dewan. Consent agenda, anybody need anything removed?
Yes, Mayor,
Good.
there is just one duplicating, a lot of things go on during reorg and whatnot. I just want to request that resolution number 23-62 be pulled only because it's already been authorized by the governing body in the reorg meeting.
Okay. Anybody else? Nope? Okay, Liz, whenever you're ready.
Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda, now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 2353 through 2368, and we're going to remove 2362.
Correct. Can I have a motion? Council President Polidori,
Second.
Councilman DeWine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? I'm sorry, readings for second readings.
These ordinances have been advertised and posted. An ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Pompton Lakes entitled Registration of Foreclosing Mortgage Property and Vacant Property.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 2307.
So moved.
Councilman DeLine, Council President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 2307?
So moved.
Councilman Begg,
Second.
Councilman Venning, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 2307 for final adoption.
Motion.
Councilman Venning,
Second.
Councilman DeLine, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori? Yes. Councilman Vennon?
Yes.
Councilman Begg?
Yes.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes.
Councilman DeLine?
Yes.
Ordinance 23-08, an ordinance amending certain provisions of Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Trails Committee.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-07.
So moved.
Councilman DeLine, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this ordinance, 2307? Seeing no one, can a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 2307? Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Vennon,
Second.
Councilman DeLine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 2307 for final adoption.
So moved.
wait.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, was that Councilman Begg?
Second. Yeah.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Councilman Vennon. Thanks. Okay,
I'll do a roll call.
yeah, please.
Okay. Councilwoman Kent? Yes. Councilwoman Polidori? Yes. Councilman Vennon?
Yes.
Councilman Begg?
Yes.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes.
Councilman DeLine?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, under my report, we have the open space positions there. You see them listed. I'd like to thank all those people for volunteering their time. It's an important board, and they do a lot of good work there, so I thank all those volunteers for the time they put in there. Any questions on those, by the way? No?
No.
Okay. You want me to read them?
Well, no, I think the one you
Not a
have,
motion, just a roll call. Was that your question?
yeah, okay, that, it was, and I did look up the bylaws, and it said, mayor with advice and consent. So he just has to do a roll call then?
You just do the roll call.
Okay,
The agenda acts as his nomination, and now we have a vote on it.
roll call, okay. That's-
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori? Yes. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Day?
Yes.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes.
Councilman Devine?
Yes. Okay, under my report, I had a meeting with our new county executive last week. It's good to know he's from local. He grew up in Wanacue, so at least he knows where Pompton Lakes is. He was very informative about projects we'd like to see done in the future. I gave him some ideas of things we'd like to work on. He seemed very receptive. I told him we'd like to expand our open space if possible and get some more projects going, and he said he'd be more than happy to help with that. He's new at the job, he's getting his feet wet, so we'll see where that goes. He took over for a long time, a person named Tony DeNova, who ran the county for a long time. This gentleman worked under Tony, so he's very familiar with what's going on. With that, we also had attended an open space meeting on that Thursday. We also had a meeting on Friday with the county again about the building that they're building on the old county garage site. They're going to be building a vet and senior housing facility there. There's no plans really yet on what it is. They showed a drawing of what they'd like. The property hasn't even been changed yet over to the housing authority, who will be taking it over. The county will be presenting to all our boards at some point to present the project. The conceptual that they put out there was a very nice looking plan, a lot of green space, a lot of walking paths. It's not a lot of units, I think, but that could change. And the deal that's worked out in writing is that residents of Pompton Lakes get first shot in the senior and vet housing. If it doesn't fill from there, it goes to the north counties, which would be anything from us and above, basically. And they should be able to fill all their seats with that. And the reason that is because the lower counties have their own senior housing setups already there, and those residents would be using those senior housing areas to be used. The pecking order really is going to be vets first and then seniors. They're all going to be one-bedroom units with some meeting rooms on the bottom, and the Office of Housing will be on the bottom, and there'll be more to come through the boards when they present to the boards. What else do I got here? I attended the ambulance dinner with along with some people up here. We had a great time. The ambulance puts on a nice award ceremony for all their new members and awards that they give out for all the volunteers who do a heck of a job for our town. You know, again, one of those groups that are unsung heroes for our borough. Let's think back to COVID when they were here and all the calls that they were making every day to go to these COVID calls and then having to go home to their wives and families and kids with that same idea in their head. It had to be a lot. It had to be a lot for the family members, and it had to be a lot for the members doing what they had to do. So I thank them all. They did an outstanding job. I've heard from many different towns that we have one of the best ambulance squads around. We have the most active. I know Mike Foss was in the audience here, received an award for an outstanding number of calls. I can't even imagine how he has a life to have all those calls that he's been making. But it's very promising to see such a nice group. And I was meeting with them this afternoon. And they were telling me that, membership is good. They got a good drive and they got good people coming in, which is always good to see, that we, again, have those volunteers stepping up to help us and do that. I attended a personnel meeting with some of the people up here. We discussed some issues that will probably be coming forward in a little while. And I think that is my report. Council President Polidori.
Thank you. I also attended the Pompton Lakes Riverdale First Aid Squad dinner, and it was an honor to attend this year. I not only attended as a member of the governing body, but also as a new member of the squad. I actually had my first tour this past Monday, so I am honored to be part of the group, and I look forward to helping them in any way they can. And of course, we appreciate everything that all of our first responders do, so very happy to be a part of that now. I also attended the Pompton Lakes Riverdale Soccer Association annual dinner. As a former coach, I coached soccer for 6 years, so I know how much time and effort goes into being a part of an organization like that, so it's nice to see all of the coaches and volunteers get together, parents, everyone that supports the organization, to have a nice evening like that. Pompton Lakes Women's Club, I hosted the first dinner out with the group. We actually had 28 members in attendance, so for our first kickoffs of the year, it was nice to have so many members from that organization now, another group in our community that does a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes. And there was an issue raised in regards to something that I had spoken with Dan O'Rourke at the DPW with regarding some of the local landscapers that we have in town. It seems that we have some elderly folks that rely on their landscapers to clear rubbish away from their yards. And there's been an issue recently with out-of-town landscapers being turned away at the recycling center. And the question that's being posed is, what can we do? These are members of our either, whether they be disabled or senior citizens, it's difficult for them to transport these materials to recycling. So Dan and I spent some time thinking about this and are thinking about, and hopefully, Eric, maybe this is something you and I can look into, some type of a permit or application process where if we have a member of the elderly community, they can come in for some type of would be seasonal, a free permit or something that they could present to their landscaper, that they could show at the recycling center to prove based on the lot size or amount that's being taken away, that they are in fact doing this on behalf of a resident. I know the concern was that we had in the past issues with landscapers that were bringing materials here from jobs they were doing out of town because we don't charge for this. So we certainly wouldn't want to see that happen, but we also don't want to create any difficulties for the members of our community that are incapable of bringing these materials to recycling on their own. So maybe that's something you and I and Dan and we can look at together.
Well, and there's more to that, though, because some of the landscapers are asking, who are local in town, to dump, because they're local in town, asking to dump at our recycling. And that is part of their bill when they're charging you to do your lawn, is to pick up your debris and remove it. They should not be allowed to be dumping because it is filling our dumpsters quickly, and it's costing taxpayers dollars to empty that. They should be removing their own debris at that point. I agree 100%. If it's a senior who can't do it,
that's the
that's
purpose
when.
of the application process. There would be a criteria put in place based on age or accessibility to be able to do this yourself. And if someone were filling out an application to give that voucher to their landscaper for their property, they would then know that if they are or are not being charged for that, they're obviously giving that to their landscaper, so they would know they're not being charged because their landscaper is taking their garbage away on behalf of them.
So I'm going to ask my attorney, can we distinguish between residents of why we pick up and not pick up?
I'm gonna have to look at it, Mayor. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Because that might be an issue of, we're going to say an age or whatever we're going to use as a criteria.
I know that there's ample case law out there with respect to waste removal, but then they make exceptions for seniors with property taxes too. So, I have to look at it. I think that,
Can we look at something that includes seniors and maybe individuals that have like a handicap placard or something that would prohibit them from being able to remove their own waste? And again, it would be a permit that the landscaper would show, so it would be specific to that lot. So then that homeowner would know that they were sending that landscaper with that permit for whether it be seasonal or however you think that would be best.
and then it's landscape only, correct?
Yes,
Sure.
okay. And then just to follow up on something we talked about at the last meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it is my understanding that the decision to pass an ordinance to require that meetings be filmed in this chamber would be done at the council level, it's not actually up to the redevelopment committee.
Well, it's a request. They would make a request into us. Somebody
I'm
has to
making a
request.
request.
Okay, if you're making a request, that's different, but.
I made
Yeah,
a request at the last meeting too.
It is an ordinance that this governing body would put forth. And I looked into it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it is I sent that memo to you on the issue. My suggestion is have the ordinance drafted in such a way where it says that those meetings that are subject to the Open Public Meetings Act and held in council's chambers where we already have the equipment to record would probably be a very reasonable ordinance. That's what other towns have done. The ordinance can't mandate that they be broadcast because you're going to have to negotiate an agreement with your cable company, but I think that the ordinance can direct that best efforts be made to broadcast.
Can it be done in the same way that we do the council meetings where the link is uploaded to the borough website?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, that we could do. But I don't know the cost, with the cable vision. We'd have to look into that.
So,
I think it would be important to find out the cost, because I think it is important to have that transparency, and there's no reason to not want it. So if you could find out, and if it's just a matter of uploading the link to the website, or if it can be broadcast on Channel 77 with
The link to the website shouldn't be an issue at all, as long as we pass the resolution. That's our website, so we could do whatever we wanted to that. I don't know about Cablevision. I don't have enough information about
So
that.
it's just a matter of the link production, the borough pays, VIS management to produce the link for a council meeting. It going on Channel 77 is at no cost, because that's what Cablevision is required to do for a government entity.
Okay.
Am I correct that the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board meetings are in this venue as well?
Both, yes.
Okay, so
I think it's the link.
it would be the Planning Board,
The
Zoning Board of Adjustment, and the Redevelopment Agency? Anything else?
That's all we have.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else?
That is my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Board of Education meeting last night, and Dr. Jake Hernenko, Lisa Ortega, and Andrew Howell gave a presentation on Amplify Science. And I'm just going to read a little bit about the presentation, because this is a little bit above me, because I was not a science major. But during the 2021-2022 school year, Lakeside School piloted Amplify Science as a resource to support the implementation of the science curriculum. Lakeside School follows the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. These standards, particularly in science, have moved away from traditional fact-based learning that focuses on memorization and that instead promotes learning that requires active investigation and solving real-world problems. This is the focus of Amplify Science. Amplify utilizes hands-on investigation, technology, and literacy-rich activities to engage and motivate students in their coursework. The primary goal is to empower students to think, read, write, and argue like scientists. So one of the more fascinating things about last night about this presentation is that it's a pilot for this year, and it's a science program, and this is discussing things at the molecular level. And there are 4 students that attended the Board of Ed meeting last night, where they themselves were able to answer these questions, and through presentations, be able to identify these molecular objects and define the pros and cons of these objects during the presentation. And if you understand where science is today, it's very different than how it was when I grew up. It's very impressive that the kids did an amazing job last night. And it's, again, where our Board of Education is moving forward and try to provide the best curriculum going forward for our students to embrace science, not only in middle school, but in high school and beyond, and maybe as a future career for them. In school news, the winners of the annual Passaic County Clerks Poster Contest were announced this year. 4th grader Reed Goldberg, Lincoln School Submission, was selected as a winner and will be displayed on the calendar representing the month of September. In addition, Ken Froner's submission, he's from Lenox, was recognized as an honorable mention. Thank you to Mrs. Weber, Lenox Lincoln Art, for promoting the contest and for attending the award ceremony held on January 19th in Wayne.
I had the calendar here last week. Yeah, sure. That was that calendar, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, I mean, I showed up.
Congratulations to Pompton Lakes High School senior Mia Eberhardt. Mia has been chosen to represent Pompton Lakes High School as the recipient of the Passaic County Unsung Hero Award. The program recognizes one student from every Passaic County high school. Mia was selected for her dedication and work to the high school social media platforms, her work on the high school holiday movie, and for her consistent and daily support of the programs and traditions at PLHS. Mia is a fine representative and ambassador for the high school. Also for PLHS sports news, Emma Keating won gold at the Passaic County Championship in the 55-meter hurdle and pole vaults. Emma also won gold in the pole vault at the NJIC Conference Championship. And just a couple of events coming up on February 9th and 10th. We have the Lakeside Musical, Wonderland, 6:30 p.m. at the Pompton Lakes High School Auditorium. February 16th, Pompton Lakes High School Student Council Blood Drive, that's also at the high school gym. And February 16th, Spotlight on 7th, SOS Night, 7 p.m. And that'll do it for my report, Mayor.
First of all those events you mentioned are great events. I mean, they're all a bunch of fun and a lot to do. You also have a motion.
All right.
You see it?
Nope, I do not see where.
Under your name.
There we go. Motion to approve request for Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League to conduct the annual parade that leaves the Pompton Lakes High School parking lot and marches through the business district to Joe Grill Little League Complex near the south end of town. For opening ceremony scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023, starting at 12 p.m. During the parade, the police department will temporarily close the route. Portions of this route include county roads, notify police, fire, and first aid. Can I get a motion, please?
That
Can
you
we
are
have
the motion.
discussion on this first?
Sure.
So this came up last year. Actually, I thought we would revisit this before it came up for a motion. There was requests on not only the parents, but also a lot of the business owners as to changing the route of this parade. I did speak with some representatives from Little League. They were okay with it. It does pose an issue to some of the business owners along Wanacue Ave. The parents have reached out and expressed that they're not pleased with the current route either. So are we going to look into possibly rerouting this?
This motion came from Little League. They're requesting it, not us. Little League wants this.
Well, we were going to revisit it before the motion
Well,
was
it's
made.
Little League's request. I mean,
So can we hold off on it and have that discussion?
I don't think we can because they have to get it approved so we can get it done, so they can go to the county and get it approved. I don't know the answer to that, but this came
Just
from,
for one more meeting?
maybe for one more meeting, I guess we can, but this request came from the Little League.
You physically can't, I mean, if it's a timing issue.
Well, it's not until the end of May.
Right, but it's still, no, it's April 22nd.
Oh, April 22nd. I don't know. We agreed we were going to talk about this year. If they close
But
the street,
are you saying we should tell Little League how to have their parade?
I reached out to the representative from Little League, and he was perfectly fine with moving it. He may have moved this forward because we didn't reach back out to them and ask again.
Well, I can
also
only,
spoke with the chief of police, who had suggested that it would be easier on them as well if it was diverted back to the start of where Ringwood.
I can only tell you the motion came from Little League, so I can only tell you this is what they asked us to approve.
Okay, but it's possible that Little League didn't know that we were going to revisit this, but if you have business owners and parents and the police department all agreeing that it would be easier if it started at the intersection of Hamburg and Ringwood, because it's less road closures, it's less burdensome to the children and the parents, and it doesn't block off a route.
But that's your opinion. They can pick whatever route they want for their parade.
Well, it's
So we
not
can't
my-
tell, we
it's
can't
not my
tell them.
opinion. It's actually not my opinion.
What I'm saying is, we can't tell them where to have the parade. If they want to have a parade, we just have to approve it.
So you have business owners that are hindered by this, that have reached out and asked.
Okay,
And
but-
parents that have asked, and a police department that agrees that it should be moved.
Okay.
And Little League was never revisited, so they may not be aware of the fact that there is still an ask to have it moved.
Okay, so, but if Little League comes back and says we want to have this route, then what do we do?
I think we make that decision. If it really is a hindrance to our business owners on Wanacue Ave, I think we should talk about it first.
Okay, I can't tell you, we could postpone it. You're the motion, Bobby. If you want to postpone it, it's up to
So
you.
just so that the rest of you know that weren't here last year, the parade route closes off part of Wanacue Ave that is not actually touched by the parade, and some of those stores to the right of where it's closed, they make most of their money on Saturday and Sunday, like the bakery, and some of the other businesses that are down there. And the ask last year was, why do we even do this if the parade doesn't even walk past our store? You guys lock us out of business all day long on one of our busiest moneymakers. A few parents have reached out in the past and said the parade is very segmented. There's huge sections where there's no children, the bigger kids run ahead, the smaller kids lag behind. It's very disconnected. The chief of police indicated that it would be easier for them to facilitate the parade if the route was shorter and it started on the other side.
Well, the chief of police
Hamburg
needs to write a
Turnpike.
memo if that's what he's saying. It's not communicated through us here. If he feels there's a
So
safety
we can
issue,
reach out to him and ask him to write that memo then.
okay, he should write a memo to the council saying what you're saying, if that's what he's saying. And at the same time, we should reach out to Little League, but if Little League is asking us to have a parade a certain way, I'm not here to fight it. We've done this parade for 40 years in this same spot. I think that their tradition to them is very important.
Before that, the route was actually shorter and didn't go down the whole length of Wanacue Ave. And I know we had this conversation last year, and, you know, I had 2 children that marched in this parade, so I understand what the concerns are for it, and if we can look into making it easier for everyone, especially our business owners, I think we should entertain that.
All right, so Bobby, what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you want, you can pull the motion, and then I'd ask you to speak to Little League and see what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that, Mayor. I think there's some questions that need to be answered, and just to make sure we completely vet out
All
what
right.
path they're gonna take.
So Bobby will be the head on this, and you will reach out to
I
Little
will reach out to Little League.
Thank you.
League. So the
we need a
motion,
motion to table?
yeah, the motion to table this.
I'll table,
Councilman Devine, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Begg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, Councilman Klein?
Short report, Mayor. This weekend, or maybe the weekend before, attended the ribbon cutting of Las Jocotenas Deli, which is in the location of the former Town and Country Deli. They have a traditional deli, but they also have I don't even know what country they're from, but,
Is it San
it's also San Salvador, but I don't think that's the country. I think that's.
Yeah, I don't-
that's the city. Anyways, they have pupusas, which if you've never had a pupusa, they're actually very good. So I encourage everyone to try them, and I wish them the best of luck in their space. And that concludes my report.
That's your report, okay. Councilwoman Kent?
Good evening, thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, my voice is a little weak, I'll make this short. I just want to concur with Council President Polidori last year. Her and I were shopping after the parade, and there were a number of businesses that did complain to us for loss of revenue from not allowing the cars to park. Some of the hairdressers were upset because they lost customers didn't have a place to park. At the time, the Ford store lost a lot of business. So if there's a way that we can reconfigure that without shutting down the main street, that might be beneficial to the businesses in town. So I'm glad that you agreed to postpone that, so thank you for that. I also attended the deli grand opening, and it looks like a nice suite. I attended the flood advisory meeting, and that was very well attended. They're going forth with some good recommendations. I also attended the personnel meeting with you, Mayor, and Councilman Bennett. On Friday, I walked with the risk management team and the DPW superintendent with our new risk management insurance company, the Odyssey Insurance Company, with Ezio and his staff. Primarily, my concern was just making sure that our flood-prone areas with their structures are properly insured. I wasn't sure if they were, and we went through that part, plus they looked at all other buildings that the borough owns. Some of the buildings were not on the list, some were, so they are going to send a list to call us after we're done looking at all the structures, and then they're going to center the assessment of our new insurance. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that. And that was probably the coldest day that we had, and we were walking out there, so it was well worth the time. And I have self-appointed Channel 77, the sheriff here. It's been working fantastic. So if they keep it working the way it is, really no reason to not put another, program on. It seems to be working fine there. So whatever they did, they needed to at least fix Channel 77. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Bennett?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to congratulate the recently installed First Aid Squad members, and thank Mike Foss for his 1,000+ hours of service to our community, as well as the First Aid Squad folks. I'd also congratulate the Steel Magnolias. That's the robotics team, where I'm a mentor. They finished up their season this past Saturday at Delbarton, the league tournament. Unfortunately, they didn't make the top 6. There was like 20+ teams competing that day. So their season is over, but they will still be doing outreach. So be on the lookout for folks in hot pink at various fairs and whatnot coming up, showcasing their robots and their team. And that is my report, Mayor.
Oh, I'm liking these short reports tonight. Professional reports. Do you have any report?
No, Mayor, well, to this extent. I know that we have 2 outstanding ordinances with the boat launch and the parks. I'm going to have my associate reach out to you, Councilman DeLine.
Yeah, they should send the electronic drafts. So I
Okay.
don't think I've seen the electronic drafts at this point.
Fair enough. And we are going to have an ordinance on at the next meeting relative to the county's redevelopment and the vacation of one of the roads. I believe it's Grove that's going to be the one that's actually vacated. There are 2 roads they asked for a vacation. One is still being used. We couldn't vacate that. We'll vacate the other one to.
The other one's a paper road.
Paper road, right, correct. To facilitate that redevelopment project.
Good. That's
Other
it.
than that, that's it.
Thank you. Professional report.
Thank you.
Administrator's report, I'm sorry.
Just for the background for the public, back in 2021, the Attorney General for the state of New Jersey announced that New Jersey was going to join the nationwide opioid settlement agreement. There's a settlement agreement out there right now whereby the borough was part of that settlement agreement to, as these cases settle, I'm sure every town is signed up, and I'd like to thank Mark too for that, because, making sure that the borough was in line to get its first installments of payment. Essentially, certain pharmaceutical companies in New Jersey as well as nationwide who have been involved in fomenting or instigating the opioid crisis in our country are now paying for that. And, any kind of opioid, as you know, affects the operations of a local government. Our officers are out there, and it affects the well-being and safety of our residents. And the borough is now part of that settlement. Happy to say we got our first installment for $9,612.52. And, we're hoping that we reach the goal that Mark had brought to our attention of $92,000. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that.
And that is a settlement agreement. I mean, that's what they're owing us. It's not,
Yeah.
that's what they're supposed to be paying us. It's the
Right, so
92,000.
it's a national opioid settlement agreement.
Class
that we are
action
a part
suit. Class action suit, and not every municipality was eligible. You had to have a certain size. And we,
Exactly,
and
okay.
and we just met that threshold by a couple thousand residents, but we got in.
Okay, good. So I'm happy to say that. I will be meeting with the new county executive tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. All of the administrators were invited to go for the meeting tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to meeting Matt tomorrow. The assistance to firefighter grant, the borough has applied for self-contained breathing apparatuses, as well as turnout gear, and I believe we also asked for the canisters for the SCBA's for our firefighters. So our grant submission is somewhere around approximately $400,000. Other than that, I've just met with the first aid and our fire department with regard to their budget requests and capital requests, and we're going to continue to have our budget meetings next week. And that's
Great.
it. Thank you.
Any questions from administration? No? Okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Council President Polidori, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Randy.
Oh, did you put your hand up? Seven?
Randy Hitt, 443 Montclair Avenue. I just went in and paid my tax bill today, and I noticed that on Facebook, Mr. Mayor, you announced your reelection campaign. And it said in here, as your current mayor, one of the most important statistics to me is tax stabilization for our residents. And I intend to continue to make that a priority if reelected. That sounds noble, but I keep looking at my tax bill, especially for the last 4 years, and it keeps going up.
Yeah, and did you
What
look,
is your definition of tax stabilization?
and when you look at your tax bill, are you looking at our piece, the county piece, or the school piece?
I am looking at your piece.
Our piece has to go
Municipal
up.
tax.
There are certain percentages that healthcare and retirement, by law, we have to raise, and that's the only increases this council puts forward. We're very strict on how we move our budget. We're not buying extra apparatuses and things that make our prices go up. Healthcare alone this year is going to be up 24%. 24%.
So you're saying when you use the word stabilization, you're using that to stabilize the increase? Because the word stabilization means to me that the taxes don't go up.
That's the way you read it. The way I read stabilization.
What's the definition of stabilization?
Stabilization means you're increasing it, stabilizing it with the rest of what you're doing in the community. Every cost goes up. There's nothing is going to stay the same for the rest of their lives, and you should know that. That's a question that you're asking, are you trying to tell me that everything should stay the same, every price?
Well, I've been at this podium before, and I've talked about, with my tax bill, how the county was able to lower the taxes for quite a few years. And with the same expenses that you have, plus they had a county jail, plus they have a tree department.
Yeah, but
we only have a shade tree.
You can't compare a county that has 16 communities in it, that they're changing how they pay out each time where the money goes. 5 years ago, they raised it 12%, I think it was. And then the year after that, it was 0%.
What I'm bringing up, my point is.
You brought the county, not me.
I understand that, that's why I'm standing here. Your use of word stabilization.
And I just explained
My
it.
taxes have not stabilized, they've gone up.
And I think most residents would believe that they have stabilized. They're not going up 50%, 20%, 30%.
Well, nobody said 50%, 20%.
There's certain
30%.
costs that come with running a town that will
We
always go up.
understand. We understand.
Shade Tree has a huge budget, and the Shade Tree's always
Whoa,
asking.
whoa, we
Let's
don't
slow
have
down,
a
I'm
huge
talking
budget.
now, I'm talking now. Shade Tree has a budget. The Shade Tree Commission has asked to have more money put in their budget.
I'm on the Shade Tree Commission.
I
didn't
understand
ask to
that.
have more
Well,
money.
you overspent your budget last year. And the town put money into that budget to finish the list.
And how much did we?
I'm not gonna
overspend?
discuss the numbers right now, but if
They
that's,
were minimal,
it doesn't matter if they're minimal or not, they went over their budget.
and we won't this year.
Okay, but who paid for that to go over your budget? Our taxpayers. Let me finish. To make our taxpayers go over their budget, we do have to increase our taxes to make that happen.
Sometimes with the Shade Tree budget, the good Lord takes care of the trees and takes trees down. We don't know every year what's gonna happen. It's up to the good Lord.
But the good
So
Lord doesn't,
sometimes if the good Lord sends storms through and things happen, trees are a living organism.
I
They
understand.
grow and they die.
But that
So
means,
you
that
can't
means the
go
list.
on a stable Shade Tree budget.
But that means the list that you have asked to take down would have to be shortened if we had emergencies that came up. That's how it works. That's how a budget works. We stay within our budget.
We try to stay within our budget.
Well, you didn't do that last year.
Because the good Lord sends storms through.
You say the good
Protect
Lord,
us.
but you cut a lot of trees down. That's an example of budgets.
Well, that's
And,
not a very good example.
well, in my mind, it is, because we had to raise taxes, so that's a piece of it. Okay, we raised it minimum. I think the increase on the household, and you can help me, was it $20 or $21 on assessed value? I think it was $21.
I'm standing here about your wording, stabilization.
And I'm telling you what the stabilization is.
Stabilization means to stay the
All
same.
right, thank you. I answered your question, thank you. Do you have any other questions?
No, I didn't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good day. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Klein, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approach the floor, anybody approach the floor? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Councilman Bennett, Councilman Cruz. Thank you, everyone, good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, Maria.
Good night, Maria.